it's Jessii Vee, and I feel so colorful today. Look at my sweater. I feel like it contrasts so well with the background right now. I love it. Anyways, today we are continuing our movie series, and this one's a really cool one because we're gonna be talking about the hidden Easter eggs in Monsters, Inc. And I find this one so fascinating because we all love Monsters, Inc. It was like a classic movie. It's amazing. I could watch it over and over again, but now that I know about these hidden Easter eggs, whenever I watch it, it's so much cooler to see them in the background. So maybe once you guys know about these Easter eggs, you'll want to watch it like right after and just like stare at them and be like, hey, Jessii told me about that. But before I get started, I'm very excited to announce that today's video is sponsored by Star Cutouts. Now, you guys have no idea how cool their products are. So they have sent me life-size cutouts of Alice in Wonderland characters. So they have sent me the March Hare, the Mad Hatter, Alice herself, the Cheshire Cat, and the White Rabbit. So these are literally life-size characters. They are completely freestanding, so it has fold-out support, so when you put them up, they just stay there, they don't fall over. And they are also made of high-quality, durable cardboard, which is amazing, so you know they're really great quality. These are official Disney products, and I am so excited to show you guys what you can do with them. So for example, with these products, you can have an awesome tea party-themed birthday. All you have to do is place them around the table, have your tea, have your snacks, and think about how awesome the photos would be with these cutouts. I just think it adds a whole new element to birthday parties that you never had before, because whatever the theme is, you can actually have the life-size characters there with you. Because Star Cutouts have a bunch of different themes, not just Alice in Wonderland. But if you would like to get these awesome Alice in Wonderland cutouts, the Amazon links are down below in the description, so definitely check them out and maybe plan your next party around them. And if you do get them, please send me pictures of them all set up at your party or in your house or whatever you plan on doing with them. So let's get into these Monsters, Inc. hidden Easter eggs. So when you rewatch Monsters, Inc. as an adult, you notice a lot more things than you did as a kid. There are so many inside jokes, visual references, and Easter eggs in the movie that you may not have seen before. So the first point we're going to talk about is Boo's real name is Mary. While hiding out in Sully's apartment, Boo does some crayon drawings which she shows to him. One of these drawings briefly shows her name signed as Mary on the bottom corner of it. And what's really cool is that the actual voice of Boo, her name is Mary Gibbs. So it's kind of great how they referenced the actress in the movie as well and gave Boo the same name. But you only would have known this if you looked at where she signed on her picture, which is so cool. Because I don't think any of the monsters ever actually say the name Mary in the movie, they just call her Boo the whole time. And I did wonder this as a kid, like I was always like, I wonder what her real name is. Is it actually Boo? Apparently not. The next really cool thing is that the scare board actually mentions the name of Pixar staff. So if you look really closely, you'll see the name Ranft in reference to Joe Ranft, who is a story developer on the film and one of the writers of Toy Story. You'll also see the name Jones on that board, which is in reference to Marcia Gwendolyn Jones, who is the story manager. And you'll also see the name Rivera in reference to Jonas Rivera, the art department manager. So it's so cool how they included the names of people who actually worked on the film on that scoreboard. You guys may have noticed this one when you watched it as a kid, but the iconic wallpaper from Toy Story in Andy's room was also referenced in the film. When Randall is keeping his camouflage game on point by practicing blending into the backgrounds of various walls, one of the patterns given to him is Andy's cloud wallpaper. And I feel like that's just a classic wallpaper. Like whenever you see those classic clouds, you're like, yeah, that's from Toy Story. The next Easter egg is from Finding Nemo. As we watch the sushi chef Octopus preparing a meal, there's pictures of different fishes on the wall behind him, and one of them just so happens to be a clownfish who looks a lot like Marlin, who, as you guys know, is Nemo's dad. And also, if you were paying attention to that scene, did you ever notice that the octopus only had 6 tentacles? Because I did not notice that as a kid, and now that I'm watching it as an adult, I'm like, hey, octopuses usually have more than 6, but that's interesting. Now, going back to the whole Toy Story thing, Roly-Poly the clown is also featured in Monsters, Inc. It's slightly hidden away in the background of the final scene where Sully and Mike walk through the scare floor, so it's kind of hard to see, but if you look really closely, you can see that toy clown behind them. I really hope I'm able to find really clear pictures of these Easter eggs. If not, you're gonna have to go back and watch the movie yourself and find it. It seems like there are a lot of Toy Story references in this movie for some reason, because the toy plane from Toy Story also shows up in Monsters, Inc. Everyone knows that one that hung from the ceiling of Andy's room that caused Buzz Lightyear to fly. Well, it's actually also one of the toys in the boy's bedroom shelf in the scare simulation at the first scene. Speaking of that scene, did you ever watch it as a kid and think it was actually happening? And it wasn't until after when you see the studio and you're like, whoa, that wasn't actually real? That scene always confused me as a kid. This one I found really funny when I was researching this, and it's that Sully has a very interesting looking armchair in his house. I've seen this film so many times, and yet I've only just realized that Sully's big, cozy armchair has a hole in the back to let his tail through. How clever is that? It must make it so much more comfortable to sit down because he has a pretty big tail, right? So now that his chair has a hole in it, he can comfortably just like put the tail through. Like, that's so interesting. Okay, so there's also a major reference to A Bug's Life, and I know A Bug's Life is a pretty old movie. Now I say old, but I really mean that I was really young when it came out. What's the exact year? Let me just grab my phone for a second. I'm actually curious to see what year A Bug's Life came out. Because it's weird, a lot of younger kids that I talk to now, and I'm like, oh, remember Bug's Life? They were like, no, I never saw that movie. And I was like, what? That's like a classic. 1998, so I was 4 years old when that came out. Wow. Anyways, there is a scene when Randall is thrown into the human world, and he ends up in the exact trailer from A Bug's Life. And what's really cool is that it still has the same Pizza Planet truck parked beside it. And isn't Pizza Planet from Toy Story as well? Like, oh my gosh, all of these movies are just like, are they in the same universe? Is that like a conspiracy? The next point is that Boo owns a couple of very familiar looking dolls. One of the dolls she has is actually a Jessii doll that you can see lying on the floor of her bedroom. But there's also a Nemo doll that can also be spotted when Boo hands an armful of toys over to Sully. And what's really interesting about these Finding Nemo references is that at this point the movie hadn't been released yet. I'm pretty sure Finding Nemo was released a year after Monsters, Inc. So they were kind of hinting at the movie coming out, which was really interesting. And I love how Boo has a Jessii doll because I have a Jessii doll as well. Oh my gosh, we're like twins. Okay, this next point might not surprise you guys, but there are hidden Mickeys all over the film. And Disney is actually known to do this because if you look through a lot of different Disney movies, a lot of hidden Mickeys are in them. It's kind of just like a special thing for them to throw into movies. All Disney fans know to look out for hidden Mickeys in movies, even in shows and even in their theme parks, and Monsters, Inc. has no exception. There's a Mouseketeer hat in the opening credits on the side of a small toy truck behind one of the doors. There's also a very basic one drawn on the wall of the Abominable Snowman's cave. And there's also a drawing of a Mickey on the easel in Boo's room. So it's really cute because she drew Mickey as well. So it's kind of cool to just see them all over in the film, kind of just popping up everywhere. So do you guys remember Miss Nesbit from Toy Story? It's when Buzz Lightyear is sitting there having a tea party. And doesn't he wear like a bonnet or something hilarious? I don't know, but that scene was so funny to me as a kid. And I don't know if you guys ever noticed this, but in Monsters, Inc., the preschool teacher who brings her class for a tour of the Monsters, Inc. factory is called Miss Nesbit. This appears to be a reference to the name Hannah assigns to Buzz after she tries to turn him into one of her dolls. So it's kind of cool how they took that name and threw it into Monsters, Inc. as well. The next point is about the code word 2319, which seemed to be such a big deal in Monsters, Inc. because whenever anybody screamed it, people just went crazy. When monster George Sanderson is discovered having a sock stuck to his back, a panicked coworker points at it before shrieking that they have a 2319 on their hands. Now, have you guys ever wondered what 2319 might mean? And it's actually more literal than you think. It couldn't be simpler. It actually just means white sock, and here's how. W is a 23rd letter of the alphabet, and S is the 19th letter, so WS, white sock. There you go. If you didn't know it, now you do. The next little Easter egg that you might not have noticed is actually in the end credits, at the very end of the end credits. In every movie featuring animals, you can always read disclaimers and legal statements at the end of the credits, which makes total sense for human films. So whenever they use like bunnies or pigs or dogs in movies, they always say no animal was harmed in this movie. So it's hilarious because at the end of the credits of Monsters, Inc., the creators added a note to reassure the viewer that says no monsters were harmed in the making of this motion picture. It's this sort of hidden joke that makes Pixar so amazing. Like, their attention to detail just is so cool. There are so many of their movies where you can point out a million different Easter eggs that are just so surprising and exciting. Now, before I go, I have two sort of unanswered questions about the movie that I really want to bring up. The first first unanswered question that I always thought about when I was a kid when I watched the movie, and that is, did Boo's parents ever think she was kidnapped? Think about it. Boo was gone from her home for about a day. So unless she had extremely absent-minded parents, that means her greatest adventure was also her family's worst nightmare. Because literally, monsters just came into her room and just like took her away. We saw Boo spend a whole night at Mike and Sully's, and by the time they returned her home, it was night again. So she was in Monstropolis for at least 24 hours. So you gotta think, like, what were her parents going through during that time? Did they file like a police report? Were they freaking out, putting missing persons like posters all over the place? There was probably a huge media frenzy going on in the real world. And this whole entire time, she's just off having a great time with her monster friends. She doesn't care. She's having a lot of fun. But her parents, like, I always thought, like, what are her parents thinking? And the next question I have is, why don't kids find Mike scary? Like, it seems like Mike always has a lot of trouble being scary to kids when he walks through their closets. Like, no kid, people just find him funny. It seems like he always has trouble scaring kids, but I honestly think that if I was a kid and he came out of my closet, I would be petrified. Think about it, he has one eye and sharp teeth. That's pretty scary. But in the movie, Sully is always like the scariest monster, but I think that Mike is actually scarier than Sully. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. But yeah, those are all of the hidden Easter eggs in Monsters, Inc. Of course, if I missed any, definitely comment them down below in the description. And don't forget to check out the Star Cutouts link in the description as well. But yeah, I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!